Hi, everybody, and welcome back here to Joplin in the office of GNPI. And we get to continue to interview people that are on journeys with Jesus and doing some fabulous work in not just the city and this nation, but around the world. And today we have a good friend, Chris Casey, with us. Welcome, Chris.
Hey there.
And so, Chris, on all these episodes of Faith Greater Than Fear, we're talking to people and saying, hey, how's your journey been? And we started in March and it was more in the crisis mode. And then when we got into June, we kind of pivoted a bit and said, hey, there's going to be a long-term haul effect to this. And how are we dealing with it as pastors, as we're doing it with families, we're doing it individually. And we also are now talking to people who have lived and or have served internationally. And that's your case. So tell our audience a little bit about your family and a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. My family and I, actually my wife and I moved overseas to work in Eastern Europe about 12 years ago, 2009, with a team from College Heights here in Joplin. And have been trying all kinds of different things to see disciples make disciples. And we've tried just about everything over there. But most recently here in the last about 3 years, we started experimenting with media. And then about 2 years ago, we put all of our eggs in that basket. And it's kind of been a fun journey. I'm not a media guy, but I saw it used very effectively in different places. And we had literally tried everything to get in front of people to talk about Jesus, from starting Raspberry forums to Bible translations to, you name it, we tried it. Showing up to park projects that we were just cleaning and weren't invited to, but we just wanted to join people in different stuff. But this tool that we heard that was working effectively in North Africa, we gave it a shot. I did a little soft launch. And we're overwhelmed by the results. And so we shifted all of our eggs in that basket, like I said. And that journey then took us to a place where we realized that we could actually do that from anywhere. And so we ended up transitioning to another country in Eastern Europe, so my family could get the education stuff that they needed for my kids. And then most recently, about a month ago, we actually transitioned back here to the US. But are still working with the team, and now we're expanding and using this media approach to find spiritually seeking people, to then get them connected with a disciple maker on the ground into now 3 countries for next month.
That's awesome. So for our audience, just kind of to dig down just a little bit, Chris, here's a worker sent along with a team, and they've tried all kinds of things and they're frustrated. And then there's technology, and I'm like you. I'm like the guy that gets into the car. I'm not the mechanic who loves to know how it's just finely tuned. I just want the engine to turn on when I switch the key. Amen. Now, media is that engine that we don't really need anymore to know how it all works. We just know that with certain strategies, and we're going to unpack that in a minute, it does work. And for our audience to understand, Chris is being just a little careful because where they lived and where they work is a bit sensitive. And so that's going to be something I want you to highlight, is not only the ineffectiveness of other strategies until you came across this one, but that where you were working is very sensitive too. So technology is allowing us to do work effectively, to work in sensitive areas, and then to do, as you said, work in places that you don't have to necessarily be to reach anyone from anywhere. Unpack that a little bit more of how you see that working. I see that big smile on your face. I think you're pretty excited.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think of stories and names now that I can put to, just for example, there was a lady in the eastern part of our country that there's no missionaries, no believers that we know of. In our whole country, there's only 400 known believers out of about 4 million people. And so there's pockets of the whole country there's no hope, there's no light, and it is a dark place. But we ran an ad in a major city near this village, and it's not an exact art, so the ad actually was running in the villages surrounding the city. And this lady responded to us and basically was saying, listen, I've been having these dreams about Jesus, about this man, this Jesus. I don't know who he is. But he keeps telling me that I have a message, that he has a message for me that I need to share with other people. Can you help me understand who that is? And so we got her connected with a disciple maker that was here on the ground. And I mean, her faith was boom. That day, she said, I want my life to be all about this. And again, miles and miles away, hundreds of miles away from any known believer, but she had a phone with Facebook on it, and so she responded to that ad. And there's other stories like that. We say often, we used to fish with a fishing pole, one at a time. You catch one fish at a time, and if you've ever been fishing, sometimes you don't catch anything, but you're trying for one at a time. And now we're using a net. And we can just broaden our search, broaden the seed that we sow. And let me stop just real quick. That doesn't mean we shouldn't fish with a pole. I still fish with a pole and do the one-on-ones, and my daily life looks the same in some ways as it did before. This is simply a tool that has expanded our reach and expanded our ability to see where is God working. We do believe that He is the one that opens the hearts of men and women. We don't open the hearts. We're just looking for those open hearts. And so this tool is just such a gift, such a joy after a decade of fishing with a pole to grab a net beside the pool.
Well, Jesus understands nets, doesn't he? Having friends who were fishermen. And also, Chris, as you were talking, I share people on this journey right now. You know that when workers and both nationals and expatriates for Christ can't travel, they're locked down because of the pandemic, or churches and congregations can't gather, whether local or internationally, God still has gifted us as followers with tools to do abundant seed sowing and the initial relationship building is called the internet and video on that internet. As you talked about doing Facebook ads there with people, in your case, hundreds of kilometers away. The excitement then is that you're really finding the people who the Spirit of God is really been working on, and then you applying what you know about Jesus exactly the right amount at exactly the right time to exactly the right person. And tell us, and our audience, a little bit, you were telling me before we got onto the program about, in one case, I think it was like a New Testament movement, because it was not just one individual, but there was a bit of a community, I think family or something in that case.
Yeah. So in a neighboring country, well, let me jump there real quick. So pre-COVID, God just gave us this gift. We've been working on this media strategy for a year and a half before COVID hit, and so not experts by any means, but we're maybe a few steps ahead just because we had that time. A country neighboring the one that we're working in, which is a cousin culture, they had reached out to us, curious about what we were doing. They'd heard that we were getting some first fruits, and they were. Same thing. They've been on the field for a long time and very frustrated with just a low number of true conversions and true people making disciples that were multiplying in any way. And so they'd reach out to us about 2 months ahead of COVID and said, "Hey, what is this thing you're doing?" We explained it to them ad nauseum. It's quite a clunky project, clunky system until you understand it, until you get it going, and then it just runs on its own while you're asleep, which is beautiful. And so they reached out to us. They said, "Hey, listen, this is something that we want to try in our country. We're going to go back and kind of clear the table a little bit so that we can give this a full run." COVID hit, and they have got a sizable team. They called us about a week afterwards. They were on complete lockdown, and they said, "It's Wednesday today. We want to have this up and running by Monday." And we said, "Well, it took us a year and a half, so hold on a second." And so we actually got a whiteboard out and we kind of wrote out what it would take, and then called them back and said, "Listen, I think we can actually do this. We'll clear up some things off our table. If your whole team will commit to doing the things that we need to, we get all of our content translated, the Facebook page set up and the website set up, all this stuff. We think we can do it in about a week and a half." And we actually accomplished that. And it was pretty amazing to see that team go to work, and the system that we built for our country able to be reproduced into a different one. And then within a couple of months, they'd already pretty much surpassed us in the fruit that they were seeing. One of which was a man that responded to one of our ads that we then sent our disciple maker to him to see who he was, to meet him, to see if he wanted to learn how to read the Bible. Because this is not about discipleship online. Discipleship face to face is our main goal. So he shows up, and the man is there with some of his family, and of course the family's kind of in on it. And the disciple maker that we sent was trained in, hey, this thing where it's not just to share with one person, you share with them and have them share with others. And it's even better, the bigger blessing if the whole family is there. And then it's even a bigger, the best blessing is for that family to share it with a different family. And so he was prepped and ready for that. So he gave, from what I understand, he gave part of the story and then said, hey, I'll come back next week. Why don't you have your grandma come and your wife come and your kids come, and we'll finish this story. And so he did that, leaving kind of like that sweet taste in the mouth. We'll come back next week, and he did. And the whole family then said, this has to be true, and this is how we want to live our life. And so again, in a place where we don't see much at all, maybe one at a time every once in a while, for a whole family to come to faith in one fell swoop. What's the word? The gospel is powerful enough. And I've read those stories in scripture. And so I want to believe that now I can actually say, it did happen right near us.
Amen. So that's just so encouraging, Chris. And thanks for sharing that. And again, for our audience, and this time we're going, is God surprised by the events in our world? No. Is God feeling like he's going uphill and he's fighting against all kinds of odds? No. God is ready for this moment. And in a country where there are literally only hundreds of followers with millions of citizens, here you are just ahead of COVID, training another team in days that you had learned in a year. Now we've got COVID full blown. They apply themselves. Of course, there's been multiple times, I'm sure, in efforts over the years of prayer, combining that now with this new media strategy. And lo and behold, you find that one seeker who turns around and tells another leper where there is hope, where there is healing, or another beggar where there is food. And sure enough, there's more fruitfulness. That's good to hear. And it's worth it all, isn't it? All the nights, all the frustration to see that go. So what are you going to do now? So here you are, you're back on this side. What I know a little bit, but tell us, what are you thinking you and your wife are going to do from here on out with the minutes we got left?
Yeah, honestly, in some ways, it feels like we were, digging around for a long time and then found a crack in the ground and found a golden nugget. And I know there's more underneath that. And so how do we get bigger shovels? How do we get an excavator in here to mine this thing that we found? Honestly, that God has given us, like you said, he's not surprised by this. He's prepared. He has lost sheep that he wants to call home. And so I think this tool has just been such an encouragement to be able to break into places that we never were able to, and honestly even still can't do as much as we could face to face. And so realizing that we'd actually moved outside of our country and we're working in targeting cities within it, realized we could actually do this virtually, as long as we have the networks built in the country to follow up with the contacts that we make and to train other locals to follow up. And so that's going on. I can also do that if I've got an airport. As soon as COVID lifts up a little bit, we can go do more training and more networking. But the truth is, this line of work, this part of our strategy, is not something that most people like me, were trained to do. And it is constantly evolving and constantly changing, and takes a lot of skill sets that most workers don't have. Right now, we're only on one platform. We're only on Facebook. We do have a website that we run everything through. But there's Instagram, there's YouTube, now there's TikTok, there's all these other WhatsApp and Bieber and all these different platforms with different demographics. Younger people are honestly not on Facebook as much anymore. They're on Instagram and YouTube. And so my thought was, how do I find the people to help us add these platforms now that we have the system, now we have the follow-up system. And so I am hoping to continue my job working with the team, doing different roles, but also to recruit, to send over, and also to build a virtual team that can help us with analytics. How many workers do you know are skilled in analytics? And honestly, most people that are skilled in this work can go right out of college and get quite a bit of money, a good paycheck, which makes it harder to recruit those people to go to some foreign country. But honestly, the more I talk to people about the potential that they have to serve the kingdom with a gift that they might not have thought would be a kingdom gift, the lights just come on and they get super excited. They think like, wait, we can create videos that be viewed by millions of people that would share Jesus with folks. Like, sign me up. And so it's been fun, honestly, in these last 3 weeks, just to be kind of overwhelmed with people already asking, hey, what is this about? And starting to think about what they could do to serve the kingdom in this way. So building a virtual team to expand what we're able to do over there.
Well, I was listening to another webinar today, and they said that what happened in the last 5 months in technology and pivots in different industries, they anticipated would have taken 5 years. So it's been a huge accelerator. And for our audience today, I really think that what you're doing in listening to what my brother Chris is sharing, that they find working in other places that have been in a kind of COVID scenario for decades, just because of the religious overtones that are there. This has been percolating and being fine-tuned, and Chris and teams are finding that. So they've already multiplied that, as you heard him say, in other countries next door. I think, Chris, one day soon it's going to be in our country, here in the USA. And so you're looking today into the future of what Chris is telling you to do. The business marketing world has already done this in what is called social media marketing, with the analytics that are there and available, and the algorithms that Facebook and Google use to say, if you're interested in this product or in this team, all of a sudden you're going to see in your feeds this kind of team and this kind of product showing up, and they're listening and they're hearing. And so if people talk about, I wonder about the man in white, or I wonder about the man with the holy book, immediately Chris and his team can, as he said, put ads, put contacts in front of them and do this fishing. Chris, thank you so much. We've ran out of time already here. But I know that in our blog introducing you, we're going to go ahead and put your contact, maybe information, or some of the other stuff that can be there for tools. Any last thing you want to share before we say goodbye to our listeners today?
Just thanks for the opportunity to share. I'm super excited. Even in the valleys, even in the 10 years where we didn't see fruit, Jesus is so faithful, and God is not bound by time, right? And so he looks at that decade and just smiles and said, "Yeah, but look now." And even in that 10 years, he prepares us for the journey that he's got us on. So, Mike, I really appreciate GNPI, and some of the content that we get most hits on are the global gospel that you guys helped us translate over there. So thank you for what you do, and thanks for the opportunity to share.
Absolutely, Chris. And all of you at home, thank you for watching this episode of Faith Greater Than Fear. If it touched you, if it blessed you, if some way you want to go back to the content, watch it, or find some of the contact information Chris is going to be sharing with his permission, our use, please feel free to share it on your social media platforms as well. I know Chris would appreciate prayer for their family as they adjust and as they look at new horizons. People, the technology allows us to take the good news of Jesus from anywhere to anyone, anywhere. What exciting days we're living in. And so until next time, from Chris and from myself here at GNPI, Mike Schrage, have a great day. And until next time, when we talk about our faith greater than fear.